I want to thank all of you for joining us for the Healthios Exchange webinar series, Do You Have the X Factor? Or in other words, how can you better attract strategic buyers? How can you gain their attention? And we're so pleased to have Ken McDonnell with us today. Some of you may know him. He's General Manager of Business Development at Terumo Medical Corporation, headquartered in Japan. And I'm Deborah Hurst. I've spoken with some of you. I'm Vice President Marketing at Healthios and HealthiosXchange. Again, thanks so much for being with us today. What we're going to go through today, we'll introduce you to Ken McDonnell. He'll be up front in this webinar because that's why you joined us, to hear what is Terumo, what is a strategic buyer looking for in an emerging growth company to partner with or to acquire. He'll take you through Terumo and some of the criteria that they look at. I'll take you briefly through the Healthios Exchange. A lot of you have heard this already. And then we'll take you to the contact information for Ken. I would say before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. In addition to welcoming you to this, the Healthios Exchange is dedicated exclusively to the global healthcare industry, and we're using crowdfunding as the cornerstone of what we call a new funding paradigm. It offers direct access to the broadest opportunities on a fee-free, carry-free basis on one of the most trusted online environments. We're SEC compliant, FINRA compliant. And since August 2nd, we've attracted over 1,300 members, including emerging growth company executives, accredited investors, investment professionals, and strategic buyers. Also, just a reminder, you will be placed in listening mode, so we cannot hear you. We know you can hear us. And you heard our banter before. And if you have any questions, please submit them by entering them into your chat box. Feel free to identify yourself as well if you're comfortable doing that. And we'll be answering questions throughout the presentation. So I'll see those questions, and I'll pose them to Ken for a brief Q&A. This is an interesting statistic. As companies reach maturity, strategic buyers assert themselves as 87% of investment returns in healthcare are generated through M&A transactions, which answers the question, why do we even need the strategic buyers? Come on, there we go. 20, this is very interesting too, why we need to accelerate the cadence of investment opportunity to the point where you get to that mature state. Only 23% of healthcare emerging growth companies are responsible for generating 100% of investment returns. So what's happened to that remaining 77%? How can they attract strategic interest? To that, I will turn it to Ken McDonnell, introduce him. There he is. And as I said, some of you may already know him. Ken is General Manager, Business Development of Terumo Medical Corporation. He's been with them for over 9 years. He has been Vice President Business Development in Infrared DX, Vice President Global Marketing, Diasonics, MingMed. He's also been Vice President Sales and Product Development, receiving his MBA from the University of Washington and his Bachelor of Science from the University of Notre Dame. And I can attest to the fact that he's a very talented fly fisherman. So I'll leave you in the hands of Ken McDonnell, who will take you through Terumo Medical Corporation. Thank you, Ken, for being here today.
Deb, thanks very much, and good afternoon, and konnichiwa to everybody. And if you can't hear me, by the way, raise your hand, and I'll speak louder. First, let me give you a sincere thanks to Deb and Healthios for giving me the opportunity to present to you today Terumo Corporation. It's a privilege. I'd like to begin with actually talking a little bit about the company itself, because we're really not that transparent, I don't think. So let me see if I can fill in and give you some color with regard to our organization and where we're going. We are roughly a $5 billion multinational company based in Tokyo, as Deborah said. Our offices for North America actually are in New Jersey, and that's where I report into. Our mission is one I think it's unique to a Japanese culture. We contribute to society through healthcare. A very positive, I think, aspirational goal, and one that we find and hold very important to us. That script below is a representation for the word vision or dream. And we see our vision and dream to make medical treatment kinder and gentler. And with that, we have quite a focus in the area of minimally invasive technology. The company started 92 years ago. And I've been in the Bay Area for a number of years, worked with physician scientists who have started companies like Nellcor, which is Bill New, or Infraretics, like Jim Muller. And I've worked with a great many physician scientists from an investment discovery basis in the Bay Area. And I hold them in high regard, and I think it's really interesting that Terumo was founded also by a physician scientist 92 years ago. And he was quite a distinguished gentleman. You can see on the column on the right, he did some extraordinary work understanding tetanus bacillus and developing a theorem, a therapy for it, a serum therapy, as well as identifying the bacterium for bubonic plague. He and his colleagues back in 1921 started a company to provide a thermometer to the Japanese population. Until then, Terumo is getting, or Japan was getting thermometers from Germany, but because of World War II, that supply line was disrupted. And clearly, at that time, 1920-21, post-World War I, was the Spanish influenza. So temperature was a key vital sign, and one that this team responded to quite well and quite quickly. And the word Terumo actually comes from the pronunciation of the thermometer in German. From that beginning, thermometer, we've had, I think, a great legacy of minimally invasive products and moving certainly to the higher end, as we have done beginning of this century with drug-eluting stents, interventional coils, stent grafts, and LVAD devices. But we still remain true to our mission with regard to kinder and gentler technology. Again, we're about a $5 billion company, and I think that's neat to factor in the fact that we're based in yen, so certainly this year it's a little bit less as the yen has been depreciated by 20%. But by region, we're still just about half in Japan and half ex-Japan. We've made it a big effort to develop businesses outside Japan, which certainly where growth opportunities have been. We've done that through acquisition as well as business development and market development. And our business in Americas, North and South, is about a fifth. Europe is about a fifth. And Asia Pacific outside Japan is about 10 to 12%, and that certainly is growing with China. Okay, by product segment, which I think is more relevant to the discussion, almost half of our business and my involvement is the cardiac and vascular side. We have over $1 billion in endovascular business, including peripheral, coronary, as well as neuro, interventional neuroradiology. And just about an equivalent amount on our perfusion business, focused at Cabbage with Terumo Cardiovascular Systems, stent grafts with Vascutech in Scotland, and also recently we acquired a company, Harvest Technologies, that has us involved with stem cells. So pretty broad portfolio, and as we'll talk about later, that's really the focus and our interest with regard to new opportunities to look at and bring inside the company. One of our strengths, if not the dominant strength, is we are global development and manufacturing. We have outstanding manufacturing, particularly in Japan, where we develop the highest value devices like drug-eluting stents, et cetera, which takes certainly an enormous amount of manufacturing engineering and talent. And actually, to that end, one of our plants, which is not here, but it's one that does most of these high-end developments for the cardiac group, has about 125 manufacturing engineers working at that facility to make sure the product quality remains high and the product evolution continues. Also outside Japan, we do our R&D, and this is about 60 miles northwest of Tokyo. It's a campus that was developed about 20 years ago, and then added to that last decade was a training center, which is at the top of the page, and one that it's a beautiful facility, and one that we use to dedicate now to make sure that our clinicians are adequately trained on the technologies we are developing. Additive and recently to our development efforts is what we refer to as stepping into Silicon Valley. We have, in October, we've placed a $25 million investment in emergent medical partners to give us some visibility on their portfolio, but more importantly with regard to the opportunities that come their way to help us get a better idea with regard to the horizons in our planning. And recently we've also engaged with Fogarty Institute for Innovation. Well, we'll set up an incubation team to accelerate technologies that we have developed either internally or that we find externally Again, I think that's also relevant to the conversation today. I think, so what's important to us with regard to what's the current climate look like? And frankly, we're very bullish, forward-looking. The global demand seems to be relatively solid. Certainly there are headwinds in the U.S. and Europe. But we believe that the economic drivers will improve that situation relatively soon. Emerging markets remain growth opportunities for us. Certainly China is a huge opportunity for us. Latin America is one that we are nurturing, Brazil in particular. And third, as everybody probably knows, Japan is revitalizing. And it's a very exciting opportunity for us to take advantage of that energy as we grow our business. And Terumo itself, our first half results have been 18% growth year over year. Certainly there's been good organic growth in a constant currency basis, and then because of the yen depreciation of the yen, we're able to capture more business than we otherwise might have. But nevertheless, we'll take it when we can get it. Our interests, and I think the focus of the conversation going forward is with regard to where are we looking for opportunities to add to our portfolio. We're frankly primarily interested in cardiac and vascular opportunities where we see substantial growth globally. We have the endovascular business where our call points are the interventional cardiologist, interventional radiologist, and vascular surgeon. And then we have the cabbage and bypass business, that's cardiology, as well as a vascular surgeon for our stem cell business as well. So those are the areas that we do quite well. We've got very good franchises globally in those different markets and segments. And what we look for to add to our line would be, well, certainly there's large corporate acquisitions that we have done. We take those and we take those to corporate Tokyo to help us participate and process those. With regard to single product companies, we're certainly interested in pre-revenue tuck-ins and adjacencies, and we look for the product lines that have synergy with regard to what we do and what we manufacture. I think it's very helpful to make sure that when we select products, they're ones we can manufacture, high volume, cost effectively, and high quality. And of course, it needs to have a call point fit. Like everybody else, we're looking for transformative platforms, something that we can take, expand, use our internal resources to develop certain derivatives to those platforms. Because for the incremental opportunities, we do that quite well ourselves with our team in Japan as well as our other regional development teams globally. We certainly look for significant clinical data. We're relatively risk averse. We would like to see a compilation of data that would be compelling for us to get interested in what is it you're bringing forward in terms of a solution. And we have a very strong preference for your portfolio with issued patents or those that are pending and maybe imminent to be issued. Finally, though, and we think most important as we go forward is that we're looking for a compelling economic value proposition. So neat technology is neat, but we need to actually be able to do the numbers to see really what is the value story that we would bring forward when we commercialize the technology, and how does it really help not only healthcare, but the cost benefits as well. When we think about working relationships with companies, certainly the outright acquisitions, we don't really do a lot. We do those that we find to be compelling. Recent one is Untitled Medical, which is a large bore sheath. But we're also very interested in distribution arrangements that would lead to an acquisition. And there we have an opportunity to learn your style, learn the market, learn our success with regard to our commercialization and market development, and also get a good idea with regard to the manufacturing process during that relationship. And unfortunately right now, we don't do any equity investments in early stage companies. It's not part of our business model. Something we're certainly contemplating, but it's not part of our business model right now. Our process, if you know Terumo, you'll know that we're deliberate. I think people will say we're relatively slow. Indeed we are. We're risk averse. But we're interested in those opportunities that are compelling, and when we do find those, then I think we acknowledge that by putting in place an NDA. It takes a while to get there. We have a lot of development opportunities, a lot of development programs in Japan. We're very keen on avoiding any type of contamination or infringement being in a foreign country, a company in a foreign country. But if we do get some type of serious engagement, we would put in place at that time an NDA, and I think that would be very encouraging to move forward with that dialogue. The dialogue does start, though, with finding a champion within Terumo. I'm a good starting point. I would say there are other folks that you might be able to approach maybe at a trade show You may know the other divisions. We also have business development managers. That is any company. I mean, you need to be able to sell your champion so we can carry the message inside and get a coalition of interest to be able to advance the process. Before the end of the day, we still would like to be transparent. We need you to educate us in the market and the drivers, particularly those that we're less familiar with, your competition, and most important, the unmet need and why it's unmet, and certainly how unique your solution is to address that problem. And I would say finally, again, with regard to IP, which is important for us, again, being a company that works and headquartered outside the United States, we'd love for you guys to share with us either your formal or informal assessment of your ability to operate in that space with your technology. That kind of wraps it up with regard to the overview of the company. And appreciate you listening, and certainly would look forward to addressing your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Ken, one question came in. What kinds of regulatory approvals would you or Terumo prefer? That is, are you looking for a 510K CE mark?
Yeah, great point. And Deb, you asked me about that before, and I guess I didn't really include it, but we pretty much look at Class 2 opportunities, 510K. We've only done one PMA in the United States. We'll be working on another one. Those are quite stretches for us. They certainly, there might be an opportunity where we'd find to be compelling. So we wouldn't say no to something that's more aggressive in the therapeutic side. But otherwise, our more common portfolio is 510K devices.
Mm-hmm. And let's say a company is interested in some kind of partnership or potential down the exit strategy with Terumo. The first step would be contacting you, right? And let's say, okay, they've attracted your interest. What is the process like at Terumo?
I didn't hear with regard to you mean just the general?
Oh, what is the process? Let's say you're interested in XYZ company. They've met with you after this webinar. They've emailed you, you've had meetings, and what is the process like? Is it, 2 months, 6 months, a year, in terms of managing expectations?
Good question. Very relevant. Hard to answer. It really depends upon the scale of the business opportunity and our own strategic planning where we see holes that we want to actually fill, or white space we want to go after. For instance, we had recently acquired Ceridian BCT from Gambro. I was not involved in that acquisition. My understanding was that was a dialogue that started about 6 to 8 years ago, and it was very important to us. More recently, with regard to Onset Medical Ventures, it was an opportunity that we saw was a perfect fit, and that took about 3 months. Certainly lower cost than Ceridian, but again, it's a function of the fit, where we're going, and certainly also the unique competitive nature of the product itself, which we find to be an important aspect of it.
Okay, this is really great. At the end, hang in there, guys. I'm going to do this relatively quickly. Just to give you an idea of the Healthios Exchange and why Ken's participation is so relevant and what our mission is. It's an opportunity for companies such as yours to actually attract direct investments into your company via accredited investors. And there's a whole process, I won't get into that, of how we validate the accreditation, but it's a marvelous opportunity. So with the VC money drying up, there's about 17% less VC annually. Healthcare capitalizes itself about $12 million at a time, and overall, on average, $49 million capital raise. But that VC money is definitely, it's just reducing. So we decided, as we are a healthcare investment bank focused exclusively on healthcare, there's got to be alternative options for companies such as yours, the most promising therapeutics, and ultimately to advance treatment outcomes, right? So why not give the accredited investors an opportunity to invest in these companies at lower investment thresholds? And that's basically what the Healthios Exchange is. The direct investment is huge, and also no adverse selection. We allow all companies to post their companies. Now, who can actually do the fundraising? Well, those that are trending the best. And how do you trend the best? you optimize your experience on it, load your company pages, which you send to me. A lot of you have heard, you'll have my email at the end of this, but a lot of you have actually spoken with me. Load the board members, the management team, any non-confidential documents. And if they are confidential, once we start funding, which we haven't done yet, we can load them behind a firewall, so they have to sign an NDA to access them. And these are the best ways to attract the capital sources, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So we do believe in no orphan companies, no companies left behind, because it's a great opportunity for the healthcare industry to get your wonderful technologies. And a lot of what we're doing is so in line with this Kauffman study. We're actually going to have a webinar coming up by the author right here, Diane Mulcahy, and they laid out best practices for growth capital investing. And I'll just show you very, very quickly how what we're doing is aligned with their recommendations. Invest in a track record of consistently high public market equivalent performance. We are going to initiate in our next iteration, our next version, scoring, and these are based on about 104 quantifiable variables that strategics look at for the due diligence for their search and evaluation. And it's all data-driven. That's really important. We are Switzerland, and we are neutral, objective. Crowd finance. Invest directly in a small portfolio of new companies without being saddled by high fees and carry. That is our crowd finance model, open access, no adverse selection. They also recommend co-invest in later round deals side by side with seasoned investors. That's our Express portal, where you can accredited investors can invest alongside the highly claimed institutional investors, the VCs. And then move a portion of capital into the public markets. And this will be the small caps between about 50 and 200 million. And lastly, the fee-free, carry-free, the current models, 2%, 20%. We're eliminating all of that. And I don't know if you know, but globally, the world has racked up about 100 billion in management fees, and we are eliminating all of that. We actually we align our success on the success of a company to raise the money it'd like to raise. So just, who are we? Who's involved? We are working toward 100,000 accredited investors, about 7,000 institutional investors. This includes family offices, private banks, high net worth individuals, the sovereign funds. Also 2,000 strategic buyers, people such as Ken, who are the senior BD folks for global multinational companies. We also have the not-for-profit offices because there's a lot going on with private-public partnerships. So again, it's all to fill what we call the innovation gap for strategic buyers. Ken was talking about how they are looking for these innovative technologies. It's a great way, starting from seed to exit, to find the nascent technologies and to track them through the capital continuum until they reach that maturity level. So we actually have 4 portals within the overall HX. We mentioned crowd finance allows the accredited investors to invest directly. Foundation Place is partnering with the most prominent mission-based organization. Express is a fee-free, carry-free model to co-invest alongside institutional investors. And then in market, these are the strategies to, once a company goes IPO and it has a market cap, let's say 89 million, it really needs more. It's actually positioning itself to be acquired. So what can we do to expedite that as well? And the whole point of this is to go from seed to exit. And the other differentiating is providing direct access to your company to the key investors. And for any of you, and I think all of you have been on, this is what the first page looks at. Go from crowd financial foundation place, Express, in market. You'll see funding now. This funding now, some of you have seen that, have questioned it. Why can't we fund? These are companies. These are actually, the ones that are up there are clients of ours that are funding, but we actually haven't started the funding. It's a matter of getting the reserve systems and all the compliance in place before. So that's about, in about a month you'll be able to do that. And the reason I'm just going to show you a few slides here, the members, this is really important. We are akin to LinkedIn for the healthcare industry. So the best thing you can do, and again, in terms of optimizing your experience on our site, friend with people. You have access to them right there, members. You join for free. you post your company for free, you might as well start a dialogue. These are confidential dialogues with the members. You friend them and then can send them any messaging you can do. So it's a social media hub as well. Additionally, we have research and recent news that is on the site, which we encourage you to access as well. People can come on, go to the EGC directory, and find your company by way of the modality, whether it's medical device or pharma company, and then by sector. We have 46 specific healthcare sectors represented on the site. There we go. And this is just for illustrative purposes. This is a complete one company, one page for Formula Pharmaceuticals. If people on the site want to follow your company, they go right there, follow the company. Once they follow the company, they will get Catalyst updates. For someone like Ken, this is invaluable. Yeah, he gets news sources, but he doesn't get up-to-date when it happens, whether it's a management change or you've just had a significant clinical outcome, anything. Anyone following you will automatically get that update. That really helps your goals as well and your objectives. There will be an Invest Now button there, which isn't there right now, and you'll have a target and a minimum raise right there. So, and there's also a bar to show, it's not on this as well, to show how complete your profile is. And if you want to follow any of the people on right there following, you could follow the management team. You can have Q&A right there. There will be public documents. Again, this is the document part. Please load them. You'll have to send them to me. For SEC reasons, we have to load them because we can't load any terms. So that gives you an idea. And people ask, well, why did you do this? And this is my last slide, I promise. As an investment bank, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been hosting partnering events where we have assembled the market leaders in specific healthcare sectors with the most promising emerging growth companies in those respective sectors. And you can see we've had about 10,000 attendees. Ken, we've been honored to have him join them. And we've set up one-on-one meetings between the market leaders, the top BD folks at the strategic buying level with the CEOs of the emerging growth companies. It's been wildly successful, and we decided we can do this in a virtual platform as well. So this really is an extension where we feel all the constituents in an ecosystem, whether it's the investors, the strategic buyers, the emerging growth companies, they all have to act together for the successful outcome of ultimately your financing and a successful exit. So we're thrilled that you have joined the HX. We hope that you'll utilize it to the max, so again, you can attract the capital sources. If you want to reach me for anything, my number's there, Deborah Hurst, add my email address. Ken McDonnell has graciously allowed us to share his email address, so if you have any questions directly for Ken about Terumo, want to set up an appointment, please contact him at kenneth.mcdonald@terumomedical.com. Thank you very much, and we hope to hear or see you at the next webinar. Thank you. Ken, thank you very much.